Welcome to Ancient Agenda. My name is Fred Robinson, and today I have with us Leanne Egan, aka Rox Oz, a name that she's been using for some time that a lot of you may recognise. Leanne has found a very interesting piece of property which she has called Baree. So it's known as the Baree site. So welcome Leanne, welcome to Ancient Agenda, and how are you?
Hi Fred, thanks for having me on. I'd just like to say that the name Baree is actually an Aboriginal word. It means crooked timber.
Okay.
And I only just recently gave the site a name because I just had to keep referring to it as the prehistory site, and I really felt that they deserved a name, so that's what I gave them.
Yep,
Yes.
it gives it an identity. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah, and it's a great name. I was going to ask you about that. It does sound Aboriginal.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was wondering where it came from. So was it crooked wood?
Well, it's not a perfect explanation of the
Yeah,
word, but
no,
that's what they
yeah.
think it means. So
Yes,
yeah, there's a
yeah.
lot of timber up there, and it just really fitted the site, so that's the name I chose.
Cool. So how did you find this site? Now you found this back in 2011, is that right?
Yes, well, I actually found the site. I was searching for a pole shift survival zone. I've just always had a strong feeling that I needed to find a safe place to take my children in the future. It's just something I've really had inside. So what I did was I got maps of Australia and I flooded them. And what I did was I looked for sites or areas above 900 above sea level and 100 miles from the coast. And I flooded the land, and I picked out a few sites and I set out across Australia to have a look. And one of these sites were in the snowy mountains, so I went out there and I found this block of land. It's only 8 acres. And as soon as I went there, I said, this is it. So I purchased the land, and one day I climbed the highest point of my hill and I came across 2 circles either side of the path, and I thought, wow. And I just felt home, and it was a really amazing feeling that this was the place, because this is where they were surviving, and they did.
Cool. So the 2 circles are up the very peak of the hill?
Yes, well, there is a natural stone path up one side of the hill, and it was really overgrown and a bit rough, but when I did reach the top of this path, I noticed the 2 circles either side, even though they were full of dirt, they were just showing through. So from that point, it was just like, wow. And slowly I keep digging and researching a bit more and came across lots of other interesting finds up there.
Cool. So to go back to the flooding of Australia,
Yes.
how did you do that? How did you go about this? Is this like Google Earth, or is there an app or something for this?
There was an app. It's since been removed. I guess everybody was using this app to flood the earth, and nobody likes to talk about the world ending. But I found this app. It's gone now, and you could set the sea level rise to whatever you liked, and that's what I did. And I brought it right up, and there was only a few places really in Australia that was suitable. I then went on to research a little bit about megafauna and the Ice Age, and what animals were living and surviving. And there was also evidence of the giant short-faced kangaroo living up that way. So that seemed like the perfect location. But I just knew that was the right spot once I got there. And being such a tiny block, it really was a needle in a haystack, if you can understand that concept, because the whole area is surrounded by pine forests, and I just feel really blessed that I'm able to bring this forward. Yes,
pine forests are not native here.
No, and
in Australia, what you mean by pine forest is they are plantations where they've removed the natural trees and land and bush and stuff, and planted pine forest.
We have pine forests pretty much surrounding the whole area here, so it just makes you wonder what else has been destroyed. I've seen lots of large type megaliths which actually lead the way to the site. There's one about 8 k's away which has a large wedge, and it points directly to the site, which is really amazing. As well as in that area, even up to 20, 30 k's away, I do know of some other large megaliths, particularly sort of stone-shaped heads. So they were in around this area, but researching petroglyphs and artifacts for the last 5 years, I can honestly say they haven't moved that far, maybe 20, 30 k's sort of around this area. They haven't been up the coast or any other areas that people are looking at as far as early man. This particular site seems to be in one location, and I really believe they perished there just for that reason, because there's no evidence of travel any further outside.
Yeah. Okay. So, what was the first hand stone tool, if you want to call it that, that you came across?
Okay, well, after I discovered the stone rings, I came across one other petroglyph. It's the symbol of an egg, and what's really interesting is this particular one was about a foot under the soil, and I stubbed my toe on it. And so I removed that dirt away, because it was a main walking part to sort of walk around up there when you first get up there, just for safety. And I dug it up and pulled it up, and it has an egg symbol on both sides. So that was the second one. When I say overgrown, I mean really overgrown. It's very dangerous up there. There's snakes and that, so you can sort of only walk around one time of the year. And the stone tools and the smaller palm stones, I find, they're down towards the bottom of the hill. I really think that the area with the petroglyphs on top is more of like a site of worship, and down around the areas where they would have been living, etc. That's where I find most of the smaller handheld things. One of the most interesting is a small chisel, and nobody can deny that it's a tool. It's got the obvious wear marks. I've got it here. You may not be able to see it.
Yeah, no, we can see it. Yeah.
But you can share a photo of that. And, I mean, it just fits perfectly in my hand. I have a video there showing, if you can see that, it fits.
Yeah.
And you can actually see the wear points on the top of that chisel.
Yeah.
It's actually...
So it's got the thumb groove and everything to sort of sit in your hand. That's what you mean. It's not just comfortable, that it's actually being worn to sort of, hold in that
I don't know if you
position.
see that, the sun's come through.
Yes,
There's
you
also
can.
a little eye, so it's in this form of a little serpent. So a lot of the stones I find actually do have animal references, birds and things like that, and serpents, which is common with all prehistory peoples and early civilizations. So it's sort of following suit. They're the animals that they, cherished and loved and were a bit scared of, so they're the ones that they use for their symbols.
Yeah. So you actually contacted the Australian government when you started finding these artefacts, because you were clearly worried that they may have been Aboriginal origin, and there's a lot of strict rules, as you would know here in Australia. You can't pick these things up or touch them.
Yes.
Yeah, there is, there's tribes here that have burials inside of trees and stuff like that, and if you come across a bone in a tree in certain areas, the whole area can be shut down very quick and very easy. So what was the results from your contact with the government then?
Okay, well, very early on, I started to send pictures off to people. I sent pictures to archaeologists at universities. I contacted a few museums and things like that. And I really started to share some of the photos around in forums across the globe, artefacts, flint knapping, boring, etc., etc. I've not found any evidence of flint knapping, but they're the sort of forums I shared things in. Pretty soon I really sort of worked out that people thought I was a bit crazy, and no one believed me. I didn't really get any decent feedback from the people I sent things to. So although I was knocked down, I just kept persevering and kept searching and keep looking at databases, studying petroglyphs, studying natural erosion, especially with basalt. And I've just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. Then I came up with my nickname Roxoz, and I started putting that out there. But I've had lots of knockbacks, and even just recently, I'll say up front, right now I've got a terminal cancer, and I was given 6 months to live 3 months ago. So I actually approached the government one more time, and I sent all my information, all my research, and I applied for preservation. they recently sent out someone to take a look, and they did not agree with me. They said that the artefacts, well, they did say the artefacts are not of Aboriginal origin. They're a different sort of stone technology altogether. So they really did not fit what they know to be true in Australia. And they basically told me they were natural, even though the fellow that come didn't really put much into it. I mean, when we did climb the top of the hill and we got to the two rocks at the top, he didn't even brush the dirt out of them to take a photo. So if that sort of sums it up. And this is why you're hearing the story.
They don't want to change history either. It's a lot of work and effort for them to admit that history is possibly incorrect.
Yeah.
And so what's happening here then is that, according to mainstream academia and stuff, that Aboriginals, Australian Aboriginals, are the only ancient civilization that ever lived on Australia. If these stone, glyphs and tools and stuff are not Aboriginal, but are man-made, then that suggests there was another civilization which lived here that wasn't Aboriginal. And there is many civilizations we don't know about. You take Denisovan man. They only found about a Denisovan man in 2010 or 2011, and all they've got is a finger bone. They don't even know what the structure of the face looks like, or where they lived or anything. They know there's a 5% or something in like the Asian population, so they know they were over that way, and there's maybe like a 2.5% in the majority of the rest of us. I don't think there's any in Africa, so they didn't even get to that direction.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot about history that we just don't know and we're still learning.
Yes.
So for a mainstream academic to admit that there was another civilization that lived in Australia, he would lose his funding quite quick. He would be ridiculed himself. So that they can't, in a way, if they want to sort of keep their job.
I know.
Otherwise, they've got to become independents, and yeah, it is hard to blame them as a independent person. But you're right, to put so little effort in still, I personally, if I was in that position, I'd take the photos and stuff like that and keep them for myself, my own interest, and give my government report into what they want to hear.
Yeah, well, there's something that drives me deep down. I don't give up, and I really feel this is my life mission, so to say, is to bring this forward so everybody knows about it. I mean, these rocks belong to all of us. They're mankind's knowledge and history, and there's people that are going to connect to the site straight away, including First Peoples who probably have stories and maybe their own ideas on what they might be. But recently I've just had confirmation from a geologist, which he says that the rocks are not natural. So that's given me a bit of a smile, and now while you're hearing about me, I sort of have an urgency to put this out before I go. So, I've posted a few times too about, trying to find the right people to take over the site once I leave. Yeah. So we can talk about that later, or it's on my webpage or Facebook if anyone would like to know about it.
Yeah, no, look, we'll get into that now, as while you started it. I mean, Leanne has looked at trying to get, one person to sort of buy the property out and take over it and protect it, and do the right thing by the property and the artefacts. Hard to do, especially with, as you say, the knockbacks you get from mainstream academia and stuff, So, yes. So the idea that Leanne sort of come up with now is perhaps that a group of people might want to help do this collectively. So you get 5 or 6 people all pitch in and own the property, and leave an ownership, a part ownership in Leanne's family as well, and then the outcome of the property can then be decided by the group collectively, and we can set up a museum of some sort on the property. Now you have started building something on the property, haven't you?
I did. I started to build what would be a little museum at the bottom of the hill. It's made from all the rocks from around the land, which is pretty cool. And I have quite a large collection to donate to the museum. Of course, I'd love it to stay there, and I'd love it to be a hands-on display so that people can actually come and hold these stone tools. Once you get them in your hand, you can really feel, you know, if left-handed people, there's not so many. Most of the tools are
Yeah.
right-handed, so but you can really feel how they fit in the hand, and you get a really nice connection, you know, a connection. So
Yeah.
to the rocks, it's really awesome. So there's
I mean,
just
they're impossible to date. The best they can get to dating this stuff is to dig up one of the furthest down buried sort of rock and determine what's underneath it and date the you know, the leaves and the matter and stuff and the bugs or whatever that sort of underneath it. So they, you know, they know that the rock was placed on top of that at that
yes.
time. It was moved or shifted or something in that time. But
Well,
yeah, you really can't date a carving in a rock. It's pretty hard. They can show that it's got weathering and that it's
yes,
old, and they could
yes,
probably show if it was hundreds of years old or thousands of years old quite easily. I think they could tell between a couple of thousand and 50,000 quite easily by the weathering on the rock and the
yes.
amount of major climate shifts that we've been through that could do that as well. Um, but yeah, I'd, you know, yeah, love to be able to you know, hold the tools myself and to hold something that is, you know, is from an unknown you know, civilization and stuff. It'd
Yes.
be, yeah,
Well,
quite amazing.
sorry, butting in and the time delay and all.
Hmm.
The beauty of it is the site is untouched. So all
Hmm.
this discovery and learning can still be done. They can still dig down. They can still do tests. They can still date things. I mean, I've left it
Hmm.
as it is, bar removed, just a couple of smaller handheld stones, which nobody believed were anything anyway until I pushed and pushed and pushed. But I mean, the actual site on the top of the hill is as is, and all the learning and knowledge is still there to be discovered, which is exciting.
Hmm. And as you said, the government deemed it natural, so there is no restrictions on what
There's
you
no
can do.
restrictions, no, which is
Although
fantastic.
you want it kept natural and you want it done, you know, properly. So, other than the egg shape, what other symbols and shapes have you found out there?
Okay, okay, that's an interesting question because what I have noticed is the symbolism is very few items. The main symbol is the egg. That was the most practiced symbol, birth and creation, as in lots of religions around the world,
The
egg is the most
fertility,
important symbol.
yeah.
Yes, but there's a good Stone Age symbolism map for petroglyphs, and you can compare what symbols I've found to that site around the globe, even in the rest of Australia. And the first thing that stands out is there's lots missing. Okay, there's
Yeah.
only really 5 or 6 symbols out there, and mostly eggs, the ring, quarterform type shapes, reniform type shapes. Most have curved edges. What you don't find is zigzags, spirals, lines, grouped symbols, and something else that these people did that is unique to any other site on the planet. And believe me, I've been searching for 5 years.
Mm.
They only put one symbol on each side of a given surface. So, you know, if you've got a boulder, there'll be a symbol on 2 sides. That's it. And sometimes what
Wow.
they did was join through the middle. And I have a belief for that. That is, the 2 symbols is one is for the sun, the other is the underworld. And sometimes they cut through is the travel of the sun as it sinks down in between. So we have the connection between. And I've also found lots of other things backing this up also with the sun worship. I'm pretty 99% sure that they were a sun worship culture by what I've found.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's pretty common for the ancients. Is
Mhm.
yeah, the sun being the god or whatever up the top and the power source, and then it goes down under the world and
Yes,
comes
well,
around and back again as a circular thing. It's sort of
that's
that's
it.
the underworld. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. No, it's very curious. So I mean, it sort of implies that it's quite an ancient place, and before um, this sort of mass development and a lot of other symbology and stuff as well, and it also implies that they were possibly quite isolated from a lot of the other tribes uh,
Yes.
civilizations in in the area, and if, like you say, they were there not because it was just a great place, but because it was a high place and it was during a time of flood. Um, we've had several stories of flooding throughout history, and if they were up there during that flood time, that would also isolate them and prevent them from a lot of travel and contact with other civilizations during that time. And that's the sort of periods where a lot of history gets lost through these cultures, because they don't have the writing and the written language and stuff to sort of carry it as much on.
Yes.
It's only those that remember and that have been taught that can carry it on. So if
Um,
knowledge can die with the elders quite easily in these
I
situations.
Yes, you're right. And I've also found a lot of my research sort of confirms that, for starters, we can't find, or we haven't found, any of this symbolism anywhere else in Australia. It's just in this one remote location. You can't get to this location. The people there did not come from the north down. Otherwise, we would have found evidence all the way down. Uh,
Hmm.
it's more likely that they came in from the south. They haven't come from the other sides because we've got mountains and, of course, country for miles on the other side. The remote location really supports the fact that, maybe, and I do believe that they've come in from come in from a flooded basin and sort of landed in that area. And I've done a few maps that sort of back that up, showing that is why they are only in that location. Ice Age too would be another reason why they haven't travelled very far. But they're very inland, and they had to get there somewhere. Even if you study Australians' oldest Aboriginal peoples, and if you look at their grave sites or their funerary artefacts and things like that, it's completely different. You find marsupial teeth and nap tools and a different style of stone technology. This place here is just, I estimate, 1,000 or more shapes on basalt rocks. Very hard to do, and not something that takes 5 minutes. We're talking sometimes years
Yeah.
to make these symbols. These people lived there. There was a lot of them, and they were there for quite a while, but then just disappeared. So that sort of leads me to the conclusion that they perished there. And
Yeah.
and we just haven't heard about them anywhere else. Nobody knew they existed till I brought them forward. If you even think about that, it's very strange.
Yeah. 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 It's quite an original place, an original site, and that is also probably a lot of the reason why you've had troubles getting people to accept
Yes.
this. Is there just hasn't been much change in Australia for history. It's sort of it's stated that history here in Australia as is, and there really hasn't been much conflict against that. There's been, as you said, there's been no other sites that have
Yes.
contradicted that here in Australia, really. I mean, there probably are a couple, but they just haven't sort of made it to mainstream public.
That's
So
true, and
yeah,
I mean, if you look at the stone tech involved and the fact that it's all ground stone when we have no napping or, no peck or hammerstone type marking of stone, most of it's ground out or rubbed, and that didn't really come into the Neolithic, which doesn't sort of suit the time frame of why these people are here.
mm,
I mean, when the archaeologist came, he obviously looks for signs of ancient man in what he's been taught and he knows. And when something is presented that doesn't quite fit that, it's a bit easier just to say it's natural and sort of
yeah,
forget about it. And it's like you said earlier, I can't expect one man to go against everything he's been taught, and
yeah,
it's just not going to happen. And I don't have
mm,
any... I don't feel bad about that. I
no.
mean, it's freed me up now, and it's actually make me feel good. I feel free. I can talk. I can touch
Yeah.
them, and I don't have to worry anymore.
Yes, because
Yeah.
like you said, if they were deemed Aboriginal, you would probably have to put them exactly back in their place. They
Yes.
would, your site is going to be bombarded by, academics and Aboriginal elders who are going to dictate what and how you can do anything, if anything, with this site, and they really do have some very strict guidelines on
do.
how you can present their history and stuff as well.
They do, and you know, those guidelines and how they feel has all happened for a reason. You know, the terrible
Yeah.
times and the awful things that's happened to those people over the years, and they've had their lands taken off them. I actually believe that some of their ancient stories, they talk about the ancient ones, and they recognise that there was a few other people here. I think it will tie in the end, and you know, we'll all come together and actually work it out. Nobody's disputing anything. The Aboriginal peoples have been here for so long, and they're the guardians of Australia. But, you know, this is something, these were a people too, these were a culture, and we need to recognise them and bring them forward. And the Stones are doing that, and that's one of the main reasons I'm compelled to just keep going, keep going. And here I am talking, so it's all good. But, yeah, I have a time frame, unless I magically heal myself. I don't think that's going to happen, but you know, as long as people know about the site, the Stones are being accepted and their stories coming forward, I'm really happy. And if it brings us all together as researchers too, I'd be really happy about that. Everything comes together when we all put our minds together, you know.
Yeah.
And
you have had some really good positive interactions from a lot of people, and a lot of people. You know, I'm sending you, you know, plenty of healing love and energy and crystals and all sorts to help you with your journey as well. It hasn't all been negative, and it hasn't all been against, you know what I mean? You haven't always been up against a brick wall. It's the mainstream academics that has been the brick wall, and they're the ones that are sort of important in a sense. But you do have the support of many people.
Yeah, that is true, and you know, that's kept me going. But even with the mainstream side of things and the brick walls, I just kept going. Like, I started off with a couple of pictures of rocks, and now I've got like so many rocks and artifacts. It's like a lot of those people are now quiet. They don't know what to say, and now I've got the geologist who's confirmed that they are not natural. It brings it to a whole new level.
And hopefully his quote and interaction will help encourage others to look at them a little bit closer and maybe speak up as well and give their opinion too.
It's true. What an amazing human being he was. Like, he's one of the first few people I've actually met that's helped me. You know, I've had lots of comments on the social media personally, and messages and emails saying, yes, you know, I agree, but no one wants to go up against that brick wall of mainstream. And we found that across the globe.
Yes. No,
I'd just like to say about the people helping me send me positive healing, because it's working. One lady, her name is Belinda, she sent me a crystal wand, and I use that, and I've felt good ever since she sent it. So, you know, I really believe that we as human beings are a lot stronger than what we feel. And I have hair on today, but I've just done 3 cycles of chemo, which really knocked me down, and I've stopped that now. So I go each day by day, and hopefully by putting it all out there, the right happiness and goodness will come back, and it'll all come together, and, you know, all's well.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it will work out well. I don't think the site could have been found by a better person or a more dedicated person. You've really done it justice, and
thank you.
Yeah. What I'm curious at though is how many hand tools and stuff have you found? Because I mean, like you say, you know, 1 or 2 is a coincidence. They could have been dropped. They could have been chipped like that. But when you start producing 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, I mean, the coincidences sort of start dissipating, and
they're actually everywhere out around there. I mean, if you dig down in the soil, probably not just at my site, but if you probably dig down in the soil 20 k's around, people will start finding things. And I'd like to think I've got to start a little bit of a revolution here, where people go around and start looking at rocks, you know, when they come across them. But
some locals do,
even I was talking to the geologist, and he says that the ones I have found are museum quality, which is pretty cool. But there's probably like I've got 10 really good ones that, you know, you can put in your hands. I haven't spent, like, I've not been here all the time. I've had to move away several times, you know, for work and things.
Yes.
I'm not a very financial person, and I even built a sandbag cabin there, you know, which I had to leave, and when I come back, the magpies and wildlife had sort of attacked it, so I, you know, spent like several months building that thing, and then it took me a day to push it down. I've since started doing rocks now, but I haven't been here all that time, so it's not like I've been 5 years digging in the dirt, so to say.
No,
Plus,
I know you wanted to leave a lot of them there as well, but
well,
you know, just get enough to sort of convince yourself and to convince others, and then, well, you know, the rest are here. Maybe we should dig them up properly if we're going to, and document them and photograph them, and they put the grids out with a string line, and
yes, I've left all that natural so that can be done. But the new owners can do all this, and maybe even university students, or you know.
That's what I was thinking.
It's just great for everybody.
Surely, yeah, university students that are practicing this, and you know, a great place for them to go and put their practices into action, but without the government restrictions.
Yes, I don't know what will happen in the future, but I think that after people find out, everyone will just want to be part of it, and this belongs to everybody, you know. So I'm sure, why restrictions? We need to be able to come in contact with these things to learn and to feel something. So much is put into museums, locked in drawers. No, you can't touch this.
Behind glass cabinets.
Yeah, and
I want to touch dinosaur bones, and you go there, and a lot of them are remodeled fake ones, and they've been plastered over, and there's only 4 or 5 real bits of bone in that. The rest of it was made up, you know, and you can't touch it anyway.
No,
you know, like the ancient Egypt artifacts, we've got them in our local museum as well. We've got Egyptian artifacts there. They're all glassed off, and you sort of can't touch them. And I know that you can't just sort of, you know, go let the kids and everybody just go handle these things around the room, you know. But,
no, not like that.
Yeah,
but,
it would be so much
situations.
Holding something so ancient that man has made, or, you know, something that somebody has put so much effort into creating and designing, you know.
That's true. I mean, the stone's basalt, so it's very, very tough, you know. It's very hard to damage. Of course, if you dropped it on cement or something, it's going to break. But as far as being in a controlled situation and touching something, I'm sure it'll be fine. Anyway, they're mine, and that's what I want people to be able to do, so that's what's happening. They're not going in a locked cabinet, so, well, you know, they will be, but they will be able to be touched by people under controlled situations. The artifacts that I've found anyway. What happens in the future, the universe will, I guess, control that, because I won't be here, so see what happens.
Hopefully you will. You never know. You never know. You've got to keep positive still.
I
know it's hard. I know it's hard. And
I have...
And you've got to think both ways, I guess, because you can't just sort of live for today when you've got a family and stuff as well. But
yes, I do. Yeah. But, I mean, I'm just being honest and straight up right at the front, you know, so people know the story. I think you're very brave. Not many people will do this. You know? I do have the cancer. It's in my liver, it's in my lungs, it's in my spine, it's in my rib cage. You know, it's sort of everywhere, so unless I'm going to be some sort of miracle child, and see how long I hang around for. But anyway, I don't like to think about it too much, and the fact that people are taking notice now of the site, it's really given me a lot of happiness, so I'm just glad for that. Good.
What sort of theories have you sort of, you know, come up with from all this?
Well, there is a very strong spiritual connection. I know that not everybody believes in that sort of thing, and I'm happy to go just the solid mainstream way, but I can talk about it. I'm always a person that's had sort of something hanging around, so to say, and throughout my life, strange things happening or moving or turning on, etc., etc. I do believe that is part of the reason why I actually see the faces in the rocks, so to say. I mean, they're there, but most people just sort of wander past and they don't look any further. I I had that connection as soon as I got to the land, that this was it, this was the place to be. And I really felt home, like there was that connection. And after studying a lot of the smaller portable rock, it's something else I've been trying to bring forward to get mainstream acceptance is, well, what I call them is portable rock art. That's a term that's going around the globe right now. There's people in lots of countries sort of accepting that. Another word that I use is a palm stone, and it's basically a small rock which the people used to use for worship, etc. And they'd hold it in their hand. They had a strong connection with the stone. It was a lot more spiritual for them. They worshipped the sun, you know, they went up on their hill, they watched it come up and they watched it go down. And it seems simple, but it's not. It's quite spiritual in the sense that the people were much more loving and accepting, and I can get that by the symbolism on the stones, you know. They're made with love. Everything's made with love. Everything fits and is worked with love and respect. The tools just aren't rocks with a sharp edge, so to say, or, you know, a good handle for bashing. Each thing is made with care and time. And no one's going to sit there and work basalt stone that long to get these shapes and perfect sort of outcomes unless there was more to it. It's obviously part of their, you know, belief and cultural system that they give this effort and time to the working the stone. And some of those petroglyphs on the hill, I mean, they would take a year or more to sit there and make, you know. Just grab a basalt rock and rub away and see how long it takes you get to, you know, make a small copule even. There is a lot of that side. I've deciphered a lot of the stones, and I can go into that a bit more. Basically, I believe that they worship the sun. If you look at the symbols on the stones, what they do is they mold the stone, so to say. They don't actually draw on a stone, they shape the stone. So the stone itself will have, the shape of a face. It will either look to the left, which is the sun coming up, or to the right, it going down. And those stones are then used to connect either side, you know, whether they want to give a message to the sun to take to the underworld, or they want to directly talk to the spirits. That they had purposes. And I've sort of decoded a few of those, which I can talk about. It's simple. Most of this stuff was done in their mind, you know. They didn't have to write things down. It was a personal thing. The stones are personal. You know, they would have been revered. They would have been, you know, held, cherished, a lot of them. So it's hard to go into in 5 seconds.
Well, you've got time. You also mentioned on the page that we set up for you that you feel it was a female dominated society from the egg shapes and all sorts. Interesting that, you know, being a female dominated society as well. That's not there in Aboriginal history either.
No, they had.
Yes.
It wasn't so much that they were dominated by females. There was just more of a respect level. What you have across the globe right now is a disrespect level, where in some countries the women are just treated awfully. You know, multiple wives. Some of them are practically slaves, child brides, etc., etc. And a lot of that is a sign of the times, you know, because of poverty, etc., etc. Now, I'm not trying to say that the males are bad or anything, but there's reasons why those countries go that way, and it's got to that situation. But in early days,
in a lot of societies at the moment.
Yes, in early days, it wasn't so that the women, the childbirth and the bringing of life was just held so much more sacred, you know. It was a lot tougher back then, and to have a child and have it survive was, you know, it was a win. These days, people pump out children like you have to take a birth control pill, you know, but they did it a lot tougher back then. And the system was more equal. So, you know, the bringing the magic of life and birth and things like that was, you know, it was more important. And the men were important too. I mean, they kept the society alive, and they were proud and you know, strong and warriors, and they had to go out and hunt and kill beasts and things for survival. They weren't small back then, they were big, you know, like
even you look at the kangaroos that were around back then, was it the short-nosed giant kangaroos?
The giant short-faced kangaroo, Progoptodon, I think
we're looking at 3 meters or something.
Or
something, weren't they?
The
I mean, like a good kangaroo now can be up to 2 meters, can be above you know, many men and have a good chest on them. But these things were another meter again or
They
something,
were
you know.
big. They were big, and
Yeah,
some of the stones I've actually found one that looks very much like the Progoptodon. I'm going to say it wrong, probably. No one's ever actually
yep,
pronounced it to
yep,
me, but it's spelled it's Progoptodon.
yep,
That was a giant short-faced kangaroo, and I've actually found one rock that looks, I'm pretty sure, is a good example. And you know, it would have been the time of the giant megafauna. I'm not talking
yeah.
dinosaurs here.
No, no, no. I
Yeah,
mean, we
but
did have dinosaurs in Australia, but for some
wasn't
time
that it?
now we had giant mammals,
Yes,
even wombats. There was wombats the size of hippos and stuff like that.
yes, bigger than that.
Um,
I mean, oh my God,
yeah,
huge.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
the more the time frame I'm looking at. So
yeah,
I have found a lot of the symbolism and shapes with the rocks that do have some animals, but mostly, you know, uh, they're very simple. They're just a profile stone that's looking either to the left or to the right. And like I said, a lot of the message was done in their own mind. You know, they were more human beings than we are today. Today we're so
hmm,
caught up in, you know, going forward in society, buying a house, paying the rent, etc., etc., etc. No one gets to spend any time on themselves, and you know,
mm.
uh, human
Yeah,
beings
live
can
in
so much
balance with
more.
nature is what I like to sort of
Yes,
say.
yes.
Yes,
I mean, these
yeah,
people live there amongst it, and you go there and you will feel it. It's amazing.
mm,
You'll just feel home. You'll feel home. I'm sure
yeah,
everybody else will feel that when they get the chance to visit there. So
yeah,
it was a different time. We can't look at it, the evidence now from this brain without trying to, you know, take into consideration how they actually were back then. And this is where mainstream archaeology fails a lot. They don't accept the more spiritual side when it comes to artifacts. It's just, you know, this is a stone tool and this is how you held it and that's that. They don't
yeah,
think how or why or what that person was doing or how they were thinking, you know, when
yeah.
they drew or, you know, made these things. And you've got to look at it from that point of view. And once you do, then you start to learn.
Yes, yes. So we
I hope
start
I'm
to
not spinning
understand.
people out too much, but anyway.
No, no, it's all, it's as you say, it's part of the site. You can't. It seems that you can't talk about the Baree site without talking about the spirituality of it as well.
Yes,
It seems like a big part of the site. So,
it
um,
is. I'm
yeah,
not trying to,
yeah,
you know, I'm not reborn Christian or anything like that. I'm not trying to push
no,
any views. What people bring into their own self in their own life, that's for them to decide and for them to feel. And it's just great to have something come along that can help that grow, you know, and you know, make them get in touch again with our planet a bit more.
mm,
It seems to be getting more and more polluted as the days go by and more in trouble. So that's a different story anyway. Talking about rocks now.
Is there any more rocks you've got with you at the moment you want to share? Do you have a
Oh,
favourite?
I do have a favorite. I have two favorites. Yeah, I do. I have two favorite that stand out to me, and I actually take them wherever I go. I have
Okay.
one. It probably just looks like a chunk of black something when I'm holding it up. You can't see, but you can put a picture up.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
this one, I can't
yeah,
tell if you can even see it, but it's in the
yeah.
shape of a bird. I'm sure it just looks like a chunk of rock on this lighting. But anyway, I have one. It's a bird, and the other one I have is a skull. But you can cut those pictures in, can't you?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I take them everywhere, and I sort of help use them for giving me the strength to push forward. Um,
yeah,
like just because of my health and things, you know, I've been pretty
yeah,
crook. The chemo was dreadful. I just stopped that. I couldn't take it anymore. I
yeah,
was unlucky. I was the one that was getting the 1 in 100 side effects. The first time
yeah.
I had it, they give you medication for nausea, but that just didn't help me. Both first two times, I ended up in hospital and vomiting. If you've ever had a bad hangover, times it by 20. That's what it felt like. It was so bad. It was like, I'm never doing this
Yeah.
again. But yeah, I had seizures and I went back another night to hospital because I had heart problems and it was just too much. In fact, the first time I had it, on about the fourth day after, my tongue turned black and I guess scared the crap
Ooh.
out of me, you know. I thought my tongue
Yeah.
was going to fall out. It went away. But it was such a rare side effect.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a bit sad that I couldn't follow through with the treatments, but I sort of was against it from the beginning, but I gave it my best shot, you know. So
Yeah.
I had to know that I tried everything in that sense.
Yeah.
And now I'm just using.
There's plenty of alternative treatments that people do talk about, and
Yeah, sure. I mean,
you know, whatever it takes.
there's been a lot
Yeah.
of, I mean, just recently on the Facebook there was some documentary, you know, the truth about cancer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's some truth into that, but I mean, for example, at my level of cancer, like it's so from my body, like, and I'm not
Yeah.
just going to smoke some marijuana or, I mean, take some oil and it's just going to magically disappear.
Yeah. Not at
Um,
this stage, though. Yeah. This is all to sort of demonstrate Leanne's importance and
yeah.
urgency in doing something with this property, either to one person or collectively to a group. And you do have a couple of people who are quite interested at the moment. It
Yes.
would only take a few more, and then you could probably start doing something.
Yeah, and the
But
exciting
please,
thing
if
is,
anyone is interested or knows anyone who's interested, um, it's
yeah,
not something to sort of hesitate on. It's
no,
something that you want to make a decision soon. Contact Leanne and get as much information as you like. We'll put up a link here for your Facebook and contacts.
okay.
Um,
I mean, anyone who's interested in archaeology, history, or just, you know, wants to get out with a group of people and dig in the dirt, this is for you. Obviously, we're looking for people that are going to act as guardians. We just don't want people that want it for personal gain because, as I said earlier, I mean, the site belongs to everybody, and obviously we all can't own it, and we all can't go digging out there, etc. It has to be controlled. But hopefully the people who do take it on will look at that in the future and, you know, make it available to the public, have the stones on display and, you know, let further excavations happen. I really can't tell the future, but I just have a really good feeling about the group ownership rather than just one person. I mean, I've had to go through a lot as a single owner.
and yep.
I mean, I haven't been able to do anything really there because I've known what's there. I've known the importance of it. It is my only asset, and I have 4 children. And obviously, it will be sold at any way, after I go. But to have people to take it that understand what's there and accept it, and, you know, continue sharing is so much more important than just someone buying it to stick a house and having a nice view and, oh, look what I've got, you know, something original and unique. Of course, there's always going to be those people. They'll just jump on it as soon as if they find out about it. But
so you know what Leanne's saying here is, all else fails, the property will be sold very quick and very easy. But who's going to buy it is the question.
Yeah.
So that's why Leanne wants to, you know, at least have some say in the people that are going to buy it.
yeah,
While she can.
that's right.
Yeah.
And the people that are interested so far are, you know, perfect, and it's not that expensive. You know, if we all chip in, and the people that are
There's
interested.
a future investment too. You know, the more it gets verified, the more museums on there, the more value that's there. So,
Well, there's a
you know,
tourism
for
aspect.
those who want an investment for their family and their future as well, and something to pass on to their children, you know, a legacy and something to be proud of here in Australia, is ideal. And
Well,
even
probably
for
so.
those who live in other countries who just sort of want to own a nice piece of land in Australia, this is the most ideal piece of land you can get with these kind of artifacts on there, and again with no government restrictions of what you can do with it.
Yes, it's owned rural.
You know, it's
Maybe we'll be bombarded, and then we'll have like 100 people wanting to do it, and it'll be
I
very
hope so.
cheap. It'll be like buying a bloody lottery ticket, $2
Well, I hope
or
so.
something.
I mean,
But I guess I just want people to sort of know why I'm here
Yep.
and what's taken me so long. I just really needed the evidence, and, you know, and I've got my evidence now, and now it's letting people know in a hurry. Even though I have been putting out there for 5 years, it's it's just all coming together now, which is really good. And the few people that are interested in joining that group of people are all researchers, and they're interested in history, which is amazing. The perfect people to be behind what's going to happen to this site in the future are the ones that are going to speak for it. Like, how
Yes.
cool is that?
Yeah.
My biggest fear would be to have that land bought by someone who's going to put more pine plantations or orchards or things like that, and that's what's surrounding it. I just don't want to I don't want to go knowing that's what's going to happen. I just
Yeah.
really hope this comes, into light now, and then it goes forward from here. And that everybody who's into history and research and things like that about our past can visit that site, and they can all be part of it. It's really cool. And
Yeah.
like I said, bring us all together. I have this really, really, really cool one.
That's a fascinating one.
It's huge.
The chisel head. Yeah. Yes.
I have to stand back
That
so you
gives
can
us a
actually
better
see it.
idea of the size.
Yeah, and there's
And
pictures
how's that held?
that is held like this. It has. It still just looks like a blur on my screen, but it's held like this actually.
Yep.
But I had that in my stone tool video. But the tip on it is so obviously worked, and you can put that on the screen, can't you? That just shows the size of it, But you can put that on the screen.
Yeah.
And I have another little one here. Did I put? Oh, and I put that one up. Did I put the other little blade?
Oh, yes.
It's just like a little knife blade.
Yep. How sharp are they still? Are they?
Well,
are they
you can
blunted
get it
down
quite a sharp.
from
You can
Wear,
get quite.
or are they
Yeah,
blunted
they're
down
all
from
down.
age?
No, they're quite sharp still, but not enough. I mean, if you could really cut your skin if you pushed hard enough.
Yeah.
But these tools, were more like for cutting hides and things and stripperating, the hide away from the meat and that sort of stuff.
Sinew
Like
and-
that.
yeah.
They can get fairly sharp, but and it's as simple as just resharpening with it, just another little stone and a bit of water, and you're just grinding away
Yes.
the edge there, and you can just keep resharpening it. But I have pictures of the stone tools, and unless I can get a better way of showing them live, it's a bit hard for people to see them because they're black and they just look like stones, I'm sure, from there.
Yeah. It's all lighting, and you need the high def cameras,
high
and
Yeah, that's what I'm lacking in the high definition.
yes.
I just
With the big light on top of the camera that
Yeah.
sort of blinds you.
Yeah. But I think I've got enough pictures on your page even for people to get an idea of the
Yes,
rock.
there
I
is.
mean,
There's
Okay.
plenty there. There's a really good selection.
Yeah.
And as there's enough there that it goes beyond coincidence.
of course.
And they, to me, I mean, I'm not an archaeologist or anything either, but to me they look clearly man-made.
Yes.
And not accidental, and especially the egg shapes.
Uh-huh.
I understand what I think you were trying to explain before. What the geologist was saying is there were like a lava sort of push up into the rock, and
Yes.
that sort of bulge, and then sort of cracked away on the outside, exposing sort of a natural sort of egg formation. But
yeah,
then
that
you've
doesn't
got
really
that
work.
one that's half created and half finished.
The one still in progress. There's a lot of those out there where you can actually see where they haven't finished, and they seem to work sections away, and then they grind it out to finish it, to make
Yeah.
it deep and keep going. Their explanation was basically what happens is when lava comes up out of the ground, sometimes you can get a tube in there, and that tube can come up and then put a bit of a plug on the top, and then that's what they tried to say was some of those circles were like a lava tube. But if you actually Google lava tubes, you'll probably soon see that the only pictures of lava tubes are for volcanoes, and these things are mountains, not just little rocks. But
Yeah.
the geologists confirmed
So
that
there's nothing like them anywhere else either. And to say they're natural, that same formation would then be found other places.
of course, there'd be the
And-
circles and eggs on every hilltop right through this place.
Yes,
which
or
is very fine.
volcanic hilltops, and yes.
You won't-
And is there evidence of any volcanic
Well,
activity in that area,
yes.
Snowy
Well, there's.
Mountains?
I mean, that's where basalt comes from. It's volcanic, you
Yep,
know.
yep,
That's the stone, and I'm also very positive they didn't have any form of trade with outside tribes or cultures, because that is the only stone I find, you know, really is basalt and some quartz, which is volcanic stone, and that's what's abundant in this area. That's what they used, and, you know, they used it very well. You can't really sort of do flint knapping and things like that with basalt. You know, it's stone that's used for ground stone. That's the stone they
yeah,
had. That's the stone they used, and they learnt to shape it really well and beautifully. Like, some of the artifacts are amazing, the amount of effort. And as the geologist confirms, you just can't get shapes like that in basalt. That it's such a
yeah,
hard stone. You can't even really get what's the word for fossilized things, or, you know, sometimes you can get shapes in rocks where it has an inclusion of something different trapped inside, say, you
yeah,
know, a different shaped medium, and then the stone will break open and the shape of that medium will be there. So you can get a
yes,
shape that way. You can get spalding and erosion where, you know, outer surface creates rust and things, and bits break off, and that can create
yeah,
shapes too. I think I've said in my video that there's no rusty rings on any of the rocks. If you have a rusty ring, so imagine a flat stone with a rusty ring, the rust will wear away and rot down, and that will create a shape. There's
yeah,
also no rust patterns, though when the basalt goes under the soil for a long time, you do get a grainy type texture. It's a bit like rust on a metal, you know, you can rub it away.
yeah,
That's the only rust really, because there is a lot of iron in the rock, you know,
yeah,
and it rusts. But the geologist confirmed what I knew all along. I just couldn't get anyone to officially say it, and wow, here he is, and
yeah,
he's even such a nice man, put his profile page and linked straight to him up to his page so that people can check his credentials.
yeah,
He's just not a backyard geologist. He's, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
senior associate, and he's I just so happy. It
It's
just
great. Well,
confirmed what I've been, you know, putting out there for years and years and years and years, and I'm not the crazy rock lady anymore, so it's good. I sort of had this vision, and someone said to me, you know, that I'd be 60 years old and driving a bus down the road with Rock Lady on the side with all these rocks, you know, going from town to town trying to convince people that they were man-made. But anyway, I don't have to anymore, so all is cool.
that's good. Well, with you don't have to with the internet these days anyway. You don't
Yeah,
need to
that's
travel
true.
anywhere to to share
Yeah,
them, you know. But
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
still
it's amazing.
seeing them in person is a little different, you know.
People
But you
really,
also said some of the neighbours have started finding a few things,
yes.
and said that if you do start up a museum there, that they'd be willing to
Hmm.
donate what they found locally
Yeah,
to
I'm
it as
sure
well.
that's true, and I'm sure that once people learn about what's actually out there in other parts of Australia too, well, it'll be great. I do think it's confined to this spot, but I'm not saying that it's not elsewhere. There's no evidence been found so far,
And so it
but
had to have come from somewhere as well. So,
yeah,
you know, maybe there is a trail leading from the south, you
there
know,
could
up
be a trail,
or through
but
the mountains or.
I'd just like to stress
Mm,
too, people just can't go around picking up rocks. There are Aboriginal artefacts, and, you know, those artefacts are protected by law. You can't go around just picking them up and taking them home and collecting them. It's wrong, and we have a lot to learn by things in situ. And you know, I'm all for
yes.
that. Obviously, I picked up smaller rocks, but I just kept trying to get acceptance for them that they were something. So yeah, I collected them to do
Yes.
that. I could have
Yeah.
just left them on the ground and taken a picture of them in the dirt. I mean, I'm sure it would have even been twice as hard in that sense, you know. But
Yeah. No, you
that's,
had to be able to show people. You
oh,
had
of
to unearth
course,
them
that's it.
and
And they're
hold
all
them
here, you
and
know.
yeah,
They're all here.
display them.
They're all
Yeah.
here ready to pass over or for people to see, and you know, they belong to everybody, and I'm
Mm.
happy to donate them. And the site itself, you know, it's a flat top hill. It has the full view of the sky. It's very obvious that's what they were doing up there. You know, they were looking at the sun coming up every day, and they may have been into astrology and things like that too. But
Mm.
I've not
An
done any stuff.
observatory. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not actually done. I'm not qualified, and I haven't done enough research on that side of things. I'd like to leave that to
Yeah.
the people that have, you know, researched prehistory peoples and ancient peoples and astrology, etc., etc. I've been very careful not to label the rocks or, you know, misrepresent
Yeah.
them in any way. Any feelings I have is from 5 years of touching them, looking them, and studying them. Of course, no modern man, no human being is going to have the answers. It's collective knowledge coming together and discussing these things. That's how we're going to actually find out what they were doing up there. And I'm glad to have been able to bring forward the start of that thing. So that's all good.
Oh, you'll always be remembered as the founder
God.
of this.
Well,
I'll make sure of that if I have to.
that'd
Because
be
you
all.
deserve that. I mean, there's nothing worse than putting so much effort in, like you have, and then having it all just sort of handed off to someone else for recognition. You know what I mean? Like, I know that you're not there for recognition, but it's not something you need to want. It's something you deserve. You know.
Well, some of the stone, the reason I've had so much trouble getting acceptance is because it's, number one, it does have a different look. And like you were talking before about the earlier spiritual side, you have to really accept that these people were at least spiritual in some sense to be able to recognize a lot of the stone. And hopefully I'll get a chance to put across what I've actually learnt. But the common thing that really jumps out is a lot of the stones have one eye, which is just a simple dot. So you'll find a stone that's shaped like a face with a single eye. And after you start seeing the same shape over and over again, that's when you really start to notice what's there.
So these are side profiles then?
Side profiles, but very much like the Egyptian, you know, the side view just with one eye. And they didn't need to draw on those stones and make them elaborate. They're not done like with a mind from, say, today. Like, say, if you or I maybe wanted to make a face on a rock today, we'd have lips and eyebrows and, you know, like we'd be really trying our best to make it look like a face. But these people didn't need to do that. It was just a simple eye and a shape, abstract, that's it. They didn't need it. The power from them and connecting with that stone was done from themselves. Their energy and their thoughts was what made that stone special, not the fact that they shaped it so amazingly wonderful that, you know, I'm a great artist. It wasn't about that.
Because they're not shaped like that, it's hard to tell whether they've got sort of curly hair or a bigger nose, or, you know what I mean? It's hard to tell features and stuff then. Is that right? Or do these look Aboriginal in sort of...
No, they're not. They do not look Aboriginal. Well, for starters, the palm stone tradition of people creating these stones and using them for some sort of cultural worship practice it is being found across the globe. I've made a lot of similarities in the Americas with the Serpent Mound people. They also did the same sort of thing. They were also making these sort of palm stones. So that's one connection with the Americas. I've also got a face profile, which is on my page somewhere, and it shows a profile from here and the Americas, which is, I'd say, 95 exact match. What stands out is they had a large chin, straight nose and high foreheads. That was the straight nose and high forehead was a feature. And I've got a couple of face profiles that, even though the artists are usually fairly simple, this one's really stand out as you can really get a good look at what they look like, which is cool. And they were owned by males, those ones. The males, that one obviously liked himself a lot, put a bit of effort into it because he did a good job. And some of the stones also show a profile. Once you hold them in front of the sun, they'll actually throw a human face profile onto the ground through shadow. Just another way they use the sun to connect. I've
seen a bit of that in the video. That looks really cool. That looks really interesting.
Yeah, and
to be sun worshippers as well, that would definitely make sense.
That's
it.
To
me, some of them profiles looked better than the rock. I know because it was probably on video and you can't see the full depth and features of the rock. As you say, the lines and the grooves. But I remember seeing the shadow of the face, and it was really pronounced. Yeah,
well, it was 3D, you know. You could turn the rock and the shadow's head would turn. So it was basically like a 3D shadow. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And if you look at the rock itself, you cannot see in any way, shape or form how they did that. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like I'm holding up a rock that's shaped like a head and I'm projecting a shadow that looks like a head. It's hidden inside it's hidden and used.
It's like the hand shadows. When you look at what the hand is, it doesn't represent a dog. and the
No,
shadow looks just like a dog barking,
that's right.
but the
Same
hands have
thing.
got nothing like it. Yes,
Yeah.
it's yeah,
So
yeah.
that, that's like, I call that the spirit in the stone, and that was just another message hidden. And that person who had that stone probably was out there in the sun, and looking at that shadow profile and speaking to it. I
Hmm.
mean, if you study early tribes and things and shamans and along those lines, I mean, this might all sound a bit sort of out there and crazy, but that's sort of fairly common practice for some of these people, that they use stones in their worship practices, especially shaman. Or some other tribes use bones and things. You've all heard point the bone at you, etc., etc.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, it's not
And they
out
recently
there.
found
Yeah.
that cave, the 175,000-year-old cave, with the stalagmites all set up in patterns and stuff, and they said that it was done in pitch black and could only have been done by Neanderthals.
Yeah, right.
So it's the sort of first evidence that Neanderthals were building some form of structures and designs and patterns and stuff
I think, yeah.
175,000 years ago.
I think the earlier peoples were a lot more advanced and knowledgeable and spiritual
Yeah,
than they
yeah.
like us to believe. They weren't just walking around, hitting things over heads and rocking creatures for their dinner. Of
Mm,
course, we're human beings. We've got brains, and they had brains too. I don't think they've got
yeah.
any evidence that their brains were small and incapable, have they?
No, no. You just got to take the likes of people like Tesla. You put him next to any one of us, and his brain outdoes any one of us. But you just light his brain up, it looks just like ours. You
Yeah,
know, and so the same kind of minds could have popped up at any stage throughout history.
of
The
course.
same kind of mind as somebody who's just way much more intelligent than all them around him, that can just sort of see them sums and add and divide and stuff in their head without even writing the stuff down. So
Yes, of
they
course.
could do maths without even knowing what maths was, probably back then, you know.
Hmm.
And these are the minds that sort of would have initiated and created, these artistic concepts and
Yeah,
designs and the large structures and stuff like that. It
yeah.
doesn't mean the whole society was extremely smart, or it's like we can all drive a car today, but can we all build one?
That's right, and
You
like I said,
know,
it was so
yeah.
much harder back then. Like, even where my site is located, if you can imagine a bushfire or a lightning strike starting a fire, that
Mm,
alone would be, catastrophic. Maybe that's what wiped them out. Just a simple thing like that.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was a lot harder to survive. They didn't have medicines. I mean, women would have had died in childbirth. Sorry, is this thing too close to
Yeah.
my mouth? It's flashing off my pass. Women would have died in childbirth. They've found studies of ancient man in the past, for example, and one of the skulls they found, some poor fellow was like about 25 when he died, and died of tooth infection. It
Mm.
was, a lot different back then.
That,
So you
I
imagine
mean, to die of a
technology.
tooth infection,
Oh my
that
God.
that's got to be severe. I mean, we've all,
I know.
I mean, at our age, we've all had a tooth infection,
That's
or
it. You can
very
sympathize.
sore tooth, and you
Sympathize.
know what they're like. But to have
Hmm.
one to the extreme point that it's going to
Where it
kill you,
kills you. That's right. So we talk
that's
about
suffering.
technology.
That's
That's it.
suffering. Yeah,
We talk
yeah,
about technology traveling around and expanding. You can see, the difficulty of that and why it's
yeah,
taken so long. And we're in a different age now, though, aren't we? Like we're talking on here. It's so
yeah,
cool. People on the other side of the
yeah,
world can learn about this. I mean, how long did it take for technology and things to travel around? It obviously did through the symbolism. We can see that with the petroglyphs. But I think that the fact that there's so few petroglyphs here, and there's no grouped petroglyphs, I
yeah,
find that very interesting. And if anybody has found anything similar, it would be great for them to share as well. So,
yeah.
um,
Especially the way that they've done their particular eggs.
hmm
Um, that really seems sort of unique. I mean, the egg symbol is very archaic, very ancient, and it's sort
yeah,
of a worldwide symbol. It represents fertility and rebirth and stuff. But these sort of egg ones, the way they've chipped away down in, and then they've still got the curvature of the egg,
yeah,
underneath the 3D sort of side of it, as if it was contained within the rock, and they're just sort
that's
of,
it. That's
just
it.
exposing it. But um,
Uh,
yeah,
well,
so
they,
it's kind of it's quite unique. So yeah, it'd be interesting to find something similar somewhere else, even if it's just down the road from where you are in another state of Australia or in another country. Absolutely.
Well, I've looked for 5 years. I mean, as far as the internet goes for comparisons, what stands out so much is that how deep the petroglyphs go down. They're not just drawing an egg or a shape on the surface of a rock, which is what you'll find with other man, because as man gets more and more recent, he gets lazier and lazier and lazier, and he didn't have that connection, you know, with obviously the depth and the amount of time that they've worked that stone, like I said, is part of their actual process of respect level, whatever, with the earth and things. A modern man's petroglyph might only just be on the surface, you know, but these go down, some of them up to an inch. And when you can, there's no point to keep going down, down, down. Like the symbols there, but they've worked them so far down into the rock, and you know, there's got to be more to it, and that's all part of us. Some of the stuff we've got to learn, which is really good. But I also have theories about that, and I can share them later. What those actual egg symbols were and those rocks were up on the hill. I can share that at another time.
I think that you would be in the best position to have theories and understanding about how these people lived. And
I'm happy to share all that side of things.
Nobody else has been there for 5 years and studied.
Well, nobody even knew they existed. That's the thing. So what can people tell us about something they've never heard of or don't know anything about? So, I mean, any theories that come to the table will be theories. And no one's going to know the answers until they've spent time with the rocks and actually held them and been there and, you know, looked at them in situ. But like I said, there's many amazing minds out there, and it's when they come together that and they get the chance to be part of this, that's when we're going to actually start learning a lot. And I'm really excited about that, and I hope I get to see some of those people actually come there and, you know, put their theories. But I've sort of really looked hard for similarities around the world, and you know, apart from getting right back to ancient stories of Lemuria and Atlantis and things like that, I don't follow religion so much. So it's still modern man writing words. We need to get back to the start, look at what's the evidence is there, look at the story the rocks tell and what they're speaking to us, and then start to make comparisons, not the other way around. Not let's take a modern story and then try to squeeze it or, you know, shape it to fit what's here, because we're not going to find any truth in that. That's not how it's going to work. It's got to start from source. This is source, and go out from there. And then people will make some connections, maybe through some ancient text somewhere, but they're not going to tell the story of this site because it's not documented anywhere. If it was documented somewhere, then we'd know about it by now. And, we don't, so that's the way I think people need to look at it. Start at source, which is here, and go from there. Look at the evidence, the facts, and then branch out, and then we'll learn something. And I'm willing to share everything with the new people that I've learnt from the rocks, and you know, as much as I can on how to find and locate some of the smaller ones, which they'd probably just walk over. It's a bit of an art to it, but once you see, you know, a few, then you will start to get the picture. If you can connect with them, you'll find them very easily. I mean, they're not that. The fact that they have an eye drilled on makes it pretty easy to sort of spot. You know, most of them are face profiles. The men's stones always are men's shaped faces, and you know, they're very easy to find. And like birds and snakes, serpent type ones, they're easy to find. But a lot of them, I find, you know, there's a different skill level as well. Obviously, like we can't all be artists, can we? You know, some people can do a nice profile face, and then someone else might be, you know, just trying to get a line on there is a bit too hard.
Some are just natural artists. Some people just don't need practice or teaching, and they can just pick up pencils and just create some magical art. And then some people you can train for years, and
that's true.
Just keep their work basic.
And the stones are art. They're portable rock art. That's what they are. And yes, some of them are more elaborate. To a degree, like I said, these people didn't find it that important to make them like masterpieces. They just had to do the purpose of what they were. But there is a lot that just have a simple little cup you worked on, or a navel, and that would be as simple as just a stone with a little drilled hole, and they could touch that hole, and that's, you know, matches like a navel, like you know, on a baby to the stone, and it was a way of connecting. It could be as simple as that. And that, a lot of the stones have energy. I've actually had a energy reading done of one of the stones, and and Julia, I think, and I can't think of her name now, but I can put that PDF with or her work. They do energy readings, and they did some at the Bosnian Pyramid, and the same sort of thing. And the stones emit energy, which is really sort of amazing when you see it.
Is this like with the dowsing sticks and stuff like that?
No, it's a film capture technology that they can.
Oh, okay.
It shows colours. It's really amazing, and the rocks have an energy. I guess dowsing's the same. When you put a dowser over the rock, you know, it moves. The rocks do project energies. And I think one of our researchers in Australia, Evan Strong, has also had some really interesting rocks he's been finding, and they're doing exactly that. They're moving the same system, but anyway, they have the technology these days to capture energy in colour on film. And what they show is, with the rock from the hill, which I've got the picture of, is it has two main colours or three main colours, and the main colour is green, which represents healing, and behind that one, the other main colour is dark blue, which is our higher knowledge. So basically what we've got is the rock's hidden energy, or whatever you like to call it, is higher knowledge with healing power. And this just sort of confirms my, what I'm saying about the people there being more spiritual and loving, etc., etc. There's nothing nasty up there. We've got no heads getting cracked open for sacrifices or anything like that. Like some sun worship cultures, it was more about, true feelings of, love for people. And their planet, their earth, their sun, they loved it, and it's evident in the stonework. And once people get there, they will see and feel that once they get there. Everybody that I've taken there has had that reaction, and some people, even just from looking at pictures, have contacted me and said they've felt something. I don't really get into all the meditations and stuff. I haven't really had a chance to look into any of that, but the people that contact me are very interested, and they sun chakra or something, I don't know. But they're getting that side of benefit from it. And even as a positive in itself, this is all good feelings, even just on that level. It comes away from what it is, the rocks and the people, but if the site can bring happiness to people, well, that's even, it's just a bonus, isn't it?
Yes.
It's all there. People are welcome to contact me and look at it on a more of a professional level. If that's what the way they want to look at it, I can do that style of presentation as well. But because of my situation, and I just want to put my feelings down as they are, genuine. I've been sort of putting it out there in a mainstream style way for many, many years, and it's got me nowhere. Putting the tape measure and this and that, and and picturing it with a scale. Some people won't even look at an artifact unless it's got the scale measurement beside it. I mean, I've done that in the past, and it's got me nowhere, because the people that are using mainstream evidence aren't interested, because this does not fit into that. So that's why it's been a no-win battle. And,
yes.
That's, I mean, I guess the spiritual side of things, I'll talk about that. It's not all and everything, but it's part of it. And I guess because I don't have much time, I just want to be upfront with who I am as a person as well. I don't know if it's part of it, but anyway, the children of the future, it's only going to get worse for them, the pressures of life. Even for us, how are they going to cope? So something like this to be left to them, for them to relate to, and bring them back down to, early man and their ancestry, I'm really excited about, And
it's the children that will learn as well, and that will accept change.
Can the kids and everything else, and then what time do they actually have to themselves? I mean, this is something that even I know personally. I have so little time, and I put a lot of time into the rocks. My family complain about that, and they're over the house, and et cetera, et cetera. I probably give the rocks sometimes more time than I give my family, but once I've got the other people to come in and help, and I can transfer that over. So, I'd really like to spend a lot more time with my partner and my children, as I get towards the end. But anybody that's interested, contact me now. Don't wait weeks or months. I mean, like I said, I don't really know how much time I have. And for this to become a realization, like a real thing, it needs to happen soon, not later. So don't just sit around thinking, oh, will I or won't I? Contact me right away. You're welcome to come and have a look, and we can talk about it. And we're only after a few people. Surely there's a few people out there with a little bit of money that would like to be part of this. It's not that expensive.
And like I said, it is an investment too. You people can think of it as an investment, even though we don't want you to primarily think of that. We want you to think of it as a protection and and a guardianship of these, artifacts and this site. But still, if a museum gets built on there and they get verified more and more through time, and more people accept, then it's going to boost the value of the property and the area as well.
Or the lens. It is priceless, in my opinion. I mean, this is a one in a lifetime. You can't put it's like those ads on TV. You can't put a value on a smile, or whatever.
Well,
it's the same sort of thing.
It's the first site like that in Australia. It's the first time that there's man-made products, artifacts, stones, and carved that have been officially deemed not Aboriginal. I know,
and I'm really hoping that someone from the First Peoples can actually be one of those people. I'm pretty going to try and really push that, and I'm going to make it happen. I would love that. And I actually have someone in mind. So I'm hoping to get a group of people that would bring them in if that happens. But I mean, I guess who better than to represent as well, ancient Australia than one of our First Peoples. And that will happen if it goes ahead. And please go ahead. I don't just want me to die and then just some farmer buy it. That would just be the worst.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll happen.
So look, we've created a page on Ancient Agenda for Leanne and her work here at Baree. It's if you go to our front page on the sidebar down the bottom, it's under recommended sites. We've linked it there. And so on this page, we've got a good description and write-up from Leanne and a lot of pictures and her videos linked there. And there's also a small profile of Leanne at the bottom with a Facebook link that you guys can contact her through as well.
Or they can contact you too, Fred, can't they, directly?
Yes, contact myself or us at Ancient Agenda, and we'll definitely put you on through to Leanne, not a problem. Yeah,
it would probably be good too, because, sometimes I can't be reached, and as time goes on too, so if they can contact you, that'd be good, and we're friends now, so you can contact me. Yes. That would be good.
Yes, not a problem.
Okay.
Not a problem. All right, well, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and great chatting with you.
You too.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya.